Life is filled with stresses that are beyond our control. We may want to control them, our finances, our health, our relationships, the state of the world. But is there anything that we can actually control in our life? My topic today is no one can stop us from loving others. I love looking at nature, at the sky, a sunset, a mountaintop, the ocean. It seems almost magical that when I sit and look at nature or stand under a beautiful glade of trees, my stress just melts away. It's an antidote for me to misery, to unhappiness, because it's so palpable, the beauty of those things, that I can just feel, life's not too bad after all. I especially love the ocean. When I sit on my favorite rock at Crescent Beach in Maine, I can see the horizon, and it's so beautiful. It's like taking the top off the roof of your house and going, oh, I'm no longer living in this little house. I can see the horizon. It's quite amazing. I find it fascinating that our eyes look outward instead of inward. To me, it's a clue about the key to happiness, that if we look outward, we'll find more joy, we'll find more happiness than if we just spend our days looking inward at our own misery, our own pain, the stresses of our own life. If we decide to live like that, looking inward only at our own pain, then we run the risk of becoming boxed in, becoming a prisoner of our own angst and stress. And the box gets darker and darker, and we feel more and more pressed in perhaps with complaint or resentment, and life becomes very, very, very small. Now, this is not to say that we shouldn't look inward at all. Of course we should. We should look inward to find our soul, to find our heart, to find the core of our being, and to find out what is valuable about ourself. I find value in contemplation, in contemplative prayer and meditation, in taking a moment away from the stresses of life to just sit quietly and think. But that's very different than the phenomenon of becoming a prisoner trapped in my own misery and angst. However, even if we do find that we're trapped in that dark box of misery, we have the option at any moment to turn our vision from ourselves and go outward again in the direction of others. And when we do, it's a tonic. It's amazing how much just doing that one thing to turn our direction outward helps us. I was riding one night in the back of a large vehicle, and I was in the very back seat. There was no one with me. The lights were off inside, and everyone in the front was chattering, and they were happy, and I wasn't happy. I was sitting in the back, all alone in the dark with a knife in my heart, that kind of feeling. And I was just feeling, just unhappy. But for some reason, I decided that night to lean forward and ask the person in front of me, how are you? What's going on with you? And we started talking. I immediately felt differently than I did before. It was amazing. I remembered it so vividly, because at one moment I was miserable and the next moment I wasn't. All because I leaned forward and started talking to someone else. That's an amazing thing that can happen to us. Over time, I decided that with the stresses of life, the only thing I can control is how much love I give to others. I can lean forward from the back seat to the front and wish someone well. I can leave my small prison and box and start to think about those around me. I can actually start to give to those around me, start to express love, kindness, a smile, something, anything, to get out of myself and start to love others. I really feel that is something I can control. I can't control the state of the world. I can't control relationships, how much people love me, how healthy I am, whether I'm rich or poor. I can try to control those things. But in the end, with the state of things in life, the only thing I can control is how much love I give to others. When I started examining that and trying to do that, then over time, I found another key, which is that not only can I control how much love I give to others, no one can stop me from loving others. Just try. Just try to stop me from loving others. I will go forward and try to love others. That's an example that I learned from the concept of fighting spirit. Fighting spirit's amazing. When you're down, when you're oppressed, or when you're on the mat like Rocky, you get up and you fight again. You do something more. You try again. So that kind of spirit that no one can stop me from loving others is something that I've decided to adopt and take as a credo. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm more mature today than I was yesterday. It doesn't mean that I'm more mature now than I was when I was a prisoner in that tiny little box, squeezed in with my own resentments or complaints or fears. But what it does mean is that I'm intending to go forward. I'm intending to love others. I'm working at it. I'm walking that path. And when I do so, then the reality appears in front of me that, yes, indeed, nothing can stop me from trying to love others. To try to love others gives us immense power. The power that I can work at this, the power that I can try to love other people, even though I'm immature, I may be hopelessly inadequate, I may be way, way below the curve of normalcy or whatever. But I can try, I can go forward. No one can stop me from loving other people. No one can stop me from being kind, from smiling, from trying to give to others. Now, granted, we may stumble because our own natures are complicated. It's quite possible to become arrogant, that we're trying to love others, and I'm a very loving person now, and I don't know anyone more humble than myself. That was a joke. You get the idea. It's sneaky. It's difficult to embark on the path of becoming a loving person. One of my prayers, a prayer that I call a prayer of humility, is that I must grow infinitely in order to resonate with God's infinite love. So no matter how loving I may feel I'm being today, it's just very tiny compared to what I could be doing. Universal love, the love of the saints, the love of people who are just so amazing. I'd like to be like them. It takes time to grow, so we have to be patient with ourselves. It's very important to be patient. It's easy to give up and say, well, I was trying to love others, but I'm no good at it, so I'm not even going to try anymore. No, no one can stop us from loving others, but we also must not stop ourselves from trying to walk that path of love because we feel like we're not good enough. We can always try more, we can always give more. We can find one person every day who needs love, who needs being cheered up, who's down in the dumps, who's depressed, who can be lifted up by a smile. I'm absolutely confident of that. One thing I have found that gives me inspiration when I realize how difficult it is actually to love other people is to look at the example of those who went before, who were very special people and who did love other people in a saintly way. One of the people that I've mentioned before is Saint Maximilian Kolbe, a Franciscan friar from Poland who was arrested by the Nazis and sent to Auschwitz. While he was there, a prisoner escaped, and the authorities decided that they were going to execute 10 prisoners. One of the 10 prisoners cried out that he wouldn't be able to see his wife or children again. Father Kolbe volunteered to take his place, so the Nazis put Father Kolbe and the 9 other prisoners in a cell number 18 in Block 11, and they were left there to die without food or water. Dying from lack of food or water is much harder than one might think. A neurologist named William Blake mentioned this about dying from dehydration. A conscious, cognitively disabled person would feel it just as you or I would. They will go into seizures, their skin cracks, their tongue cracks, their lips crack. They may have nosebleeds because of the drying of the mucous membranes, and heaving and vomiting might ensue because of the drying out of the stomach lining. They feel the pangs of hunger and thirst. Imagine going 1 day without a glass of water. Death by dehydration takes 10 to 14 days. It is an extremely agonizing death. Under those circumstances, Father Kolbe might have decided to go inward and to deal only with his own pain, as many of the other prisoners perhaps were doing, clawing at the sides of the cell with their fingernails until their fingers bled. But Father Kolbe decided to look outward, perhaps thinking that the only thing he could control was how much love he gave to others. The Nazis would come day after day to the cell to examine the prisoners, and one by one the prisoners died. But Father Kolbe was found kneeling or standing, leading the prisoners in song or in prayer with a smile on his face. The Nazis must have been astonished. They came back again and again, and until finally only Father Kolbe was left after 2 weeks, still alive. The Nazis needed the cell for other victims, so on August 14th, 1941, they decided to inject Father Kolbe with carbolic acid to finally execute him. I am awed and humbled by the example of St. Maximilian Kolbe. He embodied to the fullest the credo that says, "No one can stop us from loving others." May we all do a fraction as well in our lives. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel by clicking on the red subscribe button. Go to the YouTube channel page and leave a comment. And until next time, thank you.